VP people,
We are your hosts, Taylor and
Enrico
this is Unfiltered Conversations,
Global.
where we have the conversations that you want to have.
But you don't.
We have the conversations that you should have,
But you don't.
and the conversations that you overall just avoid. So jump in with us today for this episode of
Unfiltered Conversations Global.
I think he did not have a choice, so he had to take me. And I felt like when he was taking me, I felt the love in him. I just don't know how that changed. I felt the love in him. I've always felt the love in him. When I interact with him, I've always felt like he loves me.
is VVVVVV people. Welcome to Unfiltered Conversations Global. I'm your host today, and you might be asking, why is Mandevu doing that noise and not Enrico? Because today Enrico is kind of a guest. Today's topic, very, very important. We're going to be discussing fatherlessness. When a dad is not around, when a dad is not doing fatherly things, how it affects us and how it impacts us not only at the time of being a kid, but even as we're growing old. So today we have as a guest the normal co-host,
Enrico!
welcome Enrico. And then today we also have a wonderful new guest. Her name is?
My name is Mary.
Mary. Excellent. Well, we just want to welcome you guys both warmly, and we'll jump right into the question. So can you kind of give a background on your father's situation growing up? Either which one of you guys wants to start, it's okay.
Me allow Mary to start.
Okay.
Okay, should I tell a story first?
Yeah, sure. Was your dad around when you were young at all? Have you met him? What was it like meeting him? That kind of stuff.
Okay, so to start with where I was born. Okay, I was born in Kericho County,
Okay.
and that's where I grew until I got 2 years, and then the 207 fight came up, and so we had to leave from Kericho to come to this side. And as I was growing up, I had never seen my dad. So, okay, I didn't realize it until 2014. I was in grade 2, and that's when I realized that my dad is not around, because I could see my friends and hear them talking about their dads. Oh, my dad did this to me, my dad did this, my dad is coming. So I was wondering now, who is dad? And so I asked my mom, and he told me, okay, you see, like your cousins, my cousins, they had their dad around. And so it made me sad, and yeah, I couldn't know why he left us. Yeah, and I've never seen him until now. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
That's the story.
So you still haven't seen him?
Yeah.
And when you left Kericho, you were 2, and he was there when your mom left, or not even then?
Okay, I don't know whether he left me maybe months old. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Enrico.
Yes, yeah, this is a sensitive topic to a lot of people. I was born in Nairobi. That's what my mother told me, because of course mothers are the ones that know where we were born. So I was born in Nairobi, an alumni of Pumwani, if I can say that. For me, when I started realizing myself, because I think in the first stages, my mother and my father were there, but like to that point when I was realizing myself as a person, I did not encounter my parents because like I think they had separated from that particular time. And so my life was more of a kind of hopping kind of life. I lived with I think I've lived with almost all my relatives, and just getting to, just at that young age, to a point where I could not really know who my father was. If I was told like, this is not your father or this is your father, I'll be like, I do not know who that is. But like that hopping, because I think I've lived like in almost all counties where all my relatives have been. And I've also lived with my grandmother and both my grandmothers, from my mother's side and my father's side. So that was my life. That was my life because like I did not know my father. Later on, I came to interact with him, and I lived with him. But like in the initial instant, he was not there. So that's I think in a nutshell, that's the story that I can start with.
Your parents were together when you were born?
My parents were together. You know, when you're born, you do not know.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. So, yeah, you don't know anything. So I believe they were together because I was born. Yeah.
Things have to happen.
Yeah, things have to happen for you to be born. So I believe they were together when I was born. But like when I discovered myself, when I started getting to know who Eric is, they were not in my life at that particular time. Is because they had separated. So that's the kind of life I lived, because like when I'm discovering myself, I think at that time I was with my grandmother.
So your parents were together, and then at some age they split up, and you were kind of shuffled between family members from that
Yes,
point.
I was. Yeah, that's.
So
that's
for
the
you, it's
story.
not even just mom gone, or sorry, not even just dad not there, but it's also mom was kind of in and out as well.
Yes, mom was kind of in and out. So that was more of my life in that early recognition of myself, and that's a really big thing, because like I do not know how being a child in my mother's home at a young age or my father's home at that particular young age would have felt. So I have no experience around that.
So Mary has kindly shared with us, like, kind of when she realized, like, something's different.
Yeah.
So did you have that moment in childhood where it's like, not everybody moves between family, or they have their moms or they have their dads? Did you have that?
I knew it was.
realization?
I knew it was not a common thing or a normal thing, because all those homes that I was moving in, they had like they were stable families. They had a father and a mother figure in their home. So like for me, seeing that, that's one thing that I really missed at that particular stage. I really desired.
At what
to
age are you
be-
talking that you kind of had these thoughts?
That I'm talking about like when I was like, when you're discovering yourself, you're like almost like around 8 there.
Okay.
Where you start getting to analyze things and get to know things in the society, what is what, and all those kind of things. Around like, I think not 8 is a bit older, like at around 6, when you're in pre-primaries and all those stages, is when you start discovering, you start seeing parents bringing other kids to school. You start seeing like those family members you're living with, you see like their mother and father there present and all that kind of thing. So that's the time that you start now getting to experience that.
Awesome. Okay. So as you guys both kind of have that same realizations around the same age in school, early parts of school, did you feel that absence of dad like all the way throughout your schooling, or was it kind of like that initial like something's missing but who cares, or how did that progress for you in your primary years, in your primary school years?
Okay, for me, I don't think that there was any effect, because, okay, my mom was struggling to put something on the table, but I don't know, maybe God gave me the grace, so I was able to cope up with the absence of a dad, but I was missing the love of a dad. Yeah, because obviously, if you have a best friend who have a dad, they come to tell you that my dad did this, so I missed the love of a dad. Yeah.
And him being excited for something you did,
Yeah.
or okay.
Yeah, I think it's the same on my side. When you're at home, I think it's different. But when you get to interact with the other kids and be in school, it's when that effect is very amplified to you that, okay, there are things that you're missing. And then you realize like, okay, there are these things that you're missing, and this is your parents, your father. You do not have a father, because other kids will come and say what their dad did. And you don't have a story to say about your dad. You just have a story to say either about your uncle, your grandparents, and those were the people that were in our lives when we were growing up. So there's a big gap, and you feel sometimes you question God. Sometimes if you've done something wrong to God, that you're in this particular situation when you're still young, because you're not. You don't come to that realization. Any story that someone tells you about your dad, I think you'll take it. If someone tells you they are working, they're doing something, you'll always take it because you want to feel good as well. So I think those were the moments that I myself was in.
Okay. Yeah, it's for me, like I had both my parents growing up. So there's so many things that I'm like, well, what about this for you, and how did it feel? So for me, if I was in your guys' situations, I know that my emotions would kick in, not like right away, when I was like, I'm missing something. And if that something is someone, my questions would immediately follow, like, where are they? Like, did you guys have those kind of thoughts where it's like, where are they? Why aren't they here? You know, and then
Like, did we do something wrong?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that kept on cropping into our minds. You're wondering, like, is there anything that you did wrong? Because now you end up blaming almost everything around you, thinking like probably he did not like us, we were a disappointment to him, or he didn't love your mother, something like that. All those questions start coming in, and you just try to figure out what happened wrong, where you cannot have those answers. At least when you're grown now, you can answer some of the questions that you're asking yourself at that particular tender age.
okay.
Yeah.
Did you have those same kind of questions coming up, or?
I actually asked my mom, why did he left you? And she told me that, okay, during the war, that's when my dad, my dad felt like, you know, my mom is a Kikuyu and my dad is a Kalenjin, and the war was between the two communities.
So many people won't know that.
Yeah. So maybe I thought my dad left my mom because he didn't like us. Okay, particularly me, because maybe my mom got pregnant and my dad didn't want that. Yeah. So yeah, I've never gotten the answers for those questions.
Did you, at the same age for you, but the same question for both of you, did you guys ask your mom? Like you said, you asked my mom, where did my dad go? Like, why isn't he here?
Yeah, I've asked her a couple of times. Yeah.
Hey. Can you imagine that one? It's like, hey.
Because like, for me, my mom, one thing when I was growing up, I came to realize that my mom always made an effort to make sure she sees me. And because they had their own differences with my father would not allow her to see me.
So if you were staying with his mom,
yes,
or his sister,
yes,
you can't be seen by her.
You can't be seen by her. And it was more like she could also just express some of their differences to me, which I didn't. At that particular time, I did not understand what their differences were, because I just know they separated. I didn't know much about it up to the point where I was older enough to understand some of the things. But like you see, like he could not allow her to come and see me, and he was not there. He was never present at all. So, and when I talked to mom about him, apparently this guy loved me so much. And I don't know where the mismatch came in, because my mother told me stories about him. Even he's the one, like, you see, this is a parent of a different generation. We're not talking about this generation who could change my diapers, who could go with me to the office. You know, probably in your society.
No, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. So like in this society, I could be told like this guy used to do these things, and I was wondering, what happened? Where did the love go to? As in, what changed? See, those were the questions that I was asking myself when I got to know all these stories. That this guy was there, he could not allow someone, he could always come and take care of me as a dude.
So it's like you have the complete absence and the questions that go with that. Like, I have no idea why he left. And then you also, like, you had contact.
Yes.
But you have the same questions. Like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, like, my mom is telling me you had this great love and care for me that was even countercultural at the time. Like
Yeah.
you're changing diapers, like what?
Yes.
And
there were
then
napkins,
something
like,
happened.
Yeah,
Th-
then there were
those
napkins.
days there were no napkins.
Yeah, there were napkins, it means
there were
someone-
napkins,
yeah.
but no diapers.
Ah,
So yeah, it was hard for a dad to maybe change.
Get
the
all of that.
napkins, yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So as you began to ask those questions to your parents,
Yeah.
did they, like, did you ask in primary? I think you kind of both mentioned that you had kind of started asking those questions in primary. I'm sure they continued. Did they continue through even like up to today? Do you ask about things with your parents, or is it kind of like we don't talk about it?
But they do. Up to now, I still have some questions unanswered, and I think I want them answered. But like, it doesn't bother me that much. I think when I got born again, it changed almost a different perspective of my life. It gave me a different perspective. It made me it helped me not get to a point where I had bitter towards this person or the other person. It made me try to understand their position, which I do not understand. But like, I'm usually still welcome for any explanation of those kind of things, but it is okay. Like, I'm cool with it at this particular time now. I've grown now, I'm a parent. Those things won't, I don't want those to be a baggage in my life, because I need to move on with life. And if you keep them as a baggage, you don't end up moving on in life. It affects you to a point where you cannot be able to even be a good father in your own home.
Yeah. So what about you, Mary? The questions continue even to now, or was it kind of something you asked and your mom didn't want to talk about it like many parents wouldn't, and so that kind of died off, or how did it work for you?
Okay, so since I have many questions unanswered, I gave it up. So I don't have any questions right now. But sometimes like I imagine, what if my dad is Uhuru and yeah. Yeah, and I have friends and they tell me, "Wa utaomoka." Like, yeah. If he appears right now, I don't know my reactions.
So if you had, because growing up without them there and asking your mom, and you really love your mom, so there's some questions you want to ask, but it's like, I can't ask my mom that question. If you could ask your dad, if he was here, and there was none of those kind of qualms about something you would say to him, what would you say or ask of him?
There are many questions that I'll ask of him.
Okay.
Yeah, one will be, because for me, I know him. There's a point, like, the first stage is where he was not in my life at all. But there's the second stage where I lived with him. Yeah, there's a second stage where I lived with him. And I will ask him why his love was so discriminatory towards other siblings, other kids that he had. We don't choose to be born by someone. We just don't choose to be born. Like, we find ourselves in a home. Yeah, like my daughter has found herself in a home and she deserves love.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what happens between me with her mother, she requires that love. And I have to know how to put my difference aside and love her, because I contributed to her being on this planet, and she just has to be loved. And you see, those are the questions, like, does this person, did he love even? Okay, you might have, probably they fell apart with my mother. Did that contribute to him not loving me as well? Or what was the problem? Because I'm a different entity from my mother. I'm his son. So I think for me that's it.
Okay. So your question would be like, did you impart your bitterness towards my mom onto me?
Yes.
Like, because you had a problem with mom, you now had a problem with me, even though I'm someone different.
Yeah.
You could have loved me and not liked my mom.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, that would be hard to hear, but
Yeah.
it's worthy of an answer.
Yeah.
Like, And man, that would be
Yeah, because I do have other siblings. And I do have those that he lives with that are my siblings. And the question will be, we just all were born, as in you contributed to us being here. So why the
favoritism.
favoritism?
Because when you when you went and lived with him,
Yeah.
you were living with half siblings or step siblings.
Half siblings and step siblings.
Okay.
Many people normally don't get the difference between step siblings and
Yeah.
half siblings. Step siblings, I think, are those that one parent that is not yours came with them. And half siblings are those that you share one parent. So for me, I had both step siblings and half siblings in the same home.
And all of them, at least you felt this way, all of them were treated better than you.
All of them were treated better than me.
And how did the stepmom treat you?
Like for her, she never treated me that well, and that's the truth about it. But it's okay, as in, you see, those things are those things that you don't carry.
Yeah.
You don't go carrying them like in your heart and all those kind of things. But she didn't. Wherever she is, she knows she did not do that, and she knows she secluded me in the entire home. So that one she knows.
Okay. So your experience is obviously different. We have two different stories. But so if your dad were to be here, that big question.
Okay, the big question will be, why did he left? Yeah, and why has he never chipped in into my life? And okay, the argument was between him and my mom, not me. So why did he left? Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, that's all.
Did you so as both of you guys have struggled with those questions and then the following answers that you give yourself, like you described, that maybe it's me, maybe I did something, and maybe there's something about me that he doesn't like. Have you guys found those answers to be something that affects the way you view yourself? Like, do you value yourself less because, like, oh, well, if my own dad didn't want me, that kind of thing? Do those narratives roll in your head, or is it much more of like, well, that was his stupid choice, I know I'm pretty awesome?
Go.
Yeah, for me, I think when I was born, I think I had a personality. I think I've had a strong personality ever since I was born. And one thing that this thing they made me mature really fast. Because, like, you have to move on with life. And me being someone with a strong person, I think it comes from both my parents. I think they are people with strong personality. And that didn't make me sit down beating myself and having sympathy on myself. I was like, okay, this is how life is. I have to move on from this particular place. As in, what do I do? And I started my things at early stage. Even when I keep on talking about business, I started business at an early stage. I started doing landscaping. I started figuring out how to make money at a very early stage, because I had to move on. Because if you allow those things to affect you, then you'll be there, and it will lead you into things like drugs. It will lead you into things like you'll have those suicidal thoughts. And I knew I was better than him, and I knew, like, I can carry myself well. And I told myself, when I grow up, I want to be a better father. And I've seen this, and I think I'll try. My achievement is just being a good father to my family. That will be my achievement. So that, it has affected me. Of course, how I live, how I interact with things, it affected me. But, like, I had to be the bigger person out of this situation and be able to know that at one point, your parents goes away. I had to put myself in a situation for those kids who are orphans, those that have lost their parents. And if you lose your parent, what do you do? Did you die with them? Or do you pick up life and start thinking like a man at a young stage?
So you started doing that early? Like that was your active mindset that it's like, yeah, that's their choice.
Yes.
I'm going to do and be better.
Yes, that was my active mind, and that's why I'm saying like I really had to mature really fast.
So where would you say that kind of mentality settled into you as a person? Like, I'm not letting my dad's leaving me define me. I'm going to define who I am. Like,
Yes.
when would you say that kind of settled in as part of who Eric is?
This was when
What
I
age?
was this was when I was hopping and moving within amongst the family members, and I could see some really good example of fathers in those incidents, but I could also meet those that were broken, and those kids were still going on with their life. That was like at age probably 6. At age 6, I figured out, okay, it's like I'm alone. And I have to figure things at a solo position. And I'm very lucky, not as in, I know there are people out there who've probably gone through this, and some of them have been unable to get out of it. And for me, I'm usually very grateful to God. Because for me, I normally think God had a purpose for me, and God still has a purpose for me. And God guided me through this particular period, through this time. God is the one that helped me have that kind of a mindset. Because I don't know, like as a small kid, you don't have such a mindset. So that mindset came at age 6, and I could see what was happening, and I knew I have to figure out on how I can live.
Man, that blows my mind. I can't imagine having that kind of mindset or maturity at that age, at age 6. Man, that's... What about you, Mary? How did it affect you? Did it affect you?
Okay, it affected me, but not for long. I came to made up my mind and said, okay, whatever made them separate is their own issue. And I prayed to God to give me maybe a husband who is not like my dad, obviously, and who will take care of my children not the way my dad did. Okay, my dad left us, so I hope that my husband won't leave my children. Yeah.
And you.
Yeah, and me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pray to God that I will not go through what my mom has gone through.
You've been watching her even as a daughter,
Yeah.
and it's a difficult life.
Yeah, it's terrible because my mom picks tea. Yeah, and she goes through a lot.
And she's awesome.
Yeah, she's
I've
a
met your mom.
superwoman. Yeah.
I agree. Your mom I've met is a very strong lady, and she has a great smile, and she's just so energetic as well. So as you guys, as we want to continue with this, you all have grown up, obviously to different ages, coming just out of secondary and coming, with your first kid. Looking back just a little bit, in past instances in your life, were there huge moments where it like hit you again, that it's like, my dad's missing for this moment? Like graduating high school or graduating college or whatever it is, moments that you were like, that you looked around and you saw other families, and it just punched you again, that it's like, he's not here.
Yeah, I think even up to now we still have those moments because as a child, there's one thing about human being that I came to understand, that we always want to belong. And that's why there's someone who came we are not an island, because we are communal creatures, and sometimes you think, what if? Because for me, my father has missed almost all my events, from high school, from visiting me in high school, from my graduation, both my undergrad, masters, legal, my marriage.
Your marriage.
Yes. Wow. He's literally missed, and he's there. He's the unfortunate truth is he's not a struggling man. He's an able man. And we talk on phone, and we are good, we are cool, because I moved on. Yeah, I just moved on because I know there's nothing I can gain from him. And that's how I just did set my life. And what I'm talking about, I'm even just talking about the first phase when he was not there. Now, there's also the second phase where like he was there but not there. Because like my entire life, and all these things, someone will say like probably I did not maybe communicate. All this he knew from my graduation. And in fact, for me doing this was more to honor him. Like I didn't want even his money. Like these things I've achieved, and this is massive credit to my mother. Like for me, I normally credit my mother for quite a lot of things, despite of her also not being in and out. But like she's been a massive instrument prayer-wise and massive instrument in shaping of my life. At all those beats, anytime I encountered her. So we still feel those moments. Like my wedding was even worse. Like I'll talk about that because like people slept in his home.
Relatives of his.
Yeah, his sisters and brothers slept in his home
And came to your wedding.
and came to my wedding.
And he stayed home.
He stayed home.
Bro. And he hasn't, you've talked to him since?
We talk. We talk. My father and I, we do talk.
I don't, hey, bro.
We do talk
How
because
do you
like,
even talk to somebody after, like, you get, 3 weeks later after your wedding, you call him for whatever reason. Like, how is it not like, bro, where the heck were you? Dad, where were you? Like, my wedding, I'm getting married. Your brothers and sisters are at my wedding, staying at your house the night after, and you're at home?
yeah.
Hey.
So there's a lot as I continue building up on it. There's quite a lot in regards to that school and even how I came to live with him.
Okay, sorry. I got kind of amped up on that one, sorry. So have you encountered different things? Obviously, you're of a different age. In your coming and growing up, have you encountered different events where it's like, he's supposed to be here for this? I can tell because other dads are here.
Yeah. When I was joining high school, I first went to a boarding school, and my mom is the one who took me, and my siblings, my other siblings.
You have how many siblings?
3.
3, okay. Same dad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had a best friend, and she came with both her parents, and they bought her many things, and they gave her a lot of money, and I was like, I wish my dad was here. Yeah, he could have done so many things to me, and I missed that.
Yeah, that was beginning of high school, right? So I remember, for me, my relationship with my dad shifting in high school. It shifted from, he's my dad, like he makes the rules and I obey, and I have to do what he says, I live in his house, and shifted in that time during high school to like, my dad comes and hangs out with me and my friends. Like my friend's like, oh, is your dad coming? And I'm like, I don't want my dad to come, but he was there, and so did you have those experiences in high school and primarily, experiences in high school where you were experiencing things socially that you thought your dad could talk to you about, your dad could have input on, your dad could influence you through in that time in high school, since it was very recent for you? Did you have those times? No. Okay.
Yeah, I think I had, there's a role that a father plays, and there are people who want their fathers to be their heroes. There's guidance that your father will give you when you're growing up. You see, when you're sitting up and talking to him, having just those simple conversations with him, like you want them to be your heroes. You want them to be your role models. You understand? Like, our first role models are our parents. And if they're missing in action, then you have to pick so many role models in your life that some things that you would have achieved in a very small span of time, it takes you longer to achieve them because like you've got some of those baggage that you do not have a teacher. The world was your teacher. Like the entire community becomes your teacher. Like now you're learning from everyone. But you see, like when you learn from your father at the first instant or your mother, it changes a lot about you when you're growing up. Like if the world is the one that is teaching you, there are many things that you can fall prey to. Yeah.
So if you had mentioned earlier about becoming a believer and how big of a shift that was for you. What age was that, and what specifically in that journey most affected the way that you interacted or viewed your dad?
Like now I'm because now this one I'm shifting now to a point where like now my mother where my mother now took me. Now at this particular point I started living with my mother.
How oldish?
That was like when that was 8.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 years. So now this point is when my mother I think my mother got born again around that particular period. And I could see my mother pray. I could see her always praying and going to church. And I really liked what was happening in her life. And I really desired the God that my mother was serving. I desired whatever my mother was doing. And that's why like I talked about role models, like, seeing my mother do those things, I desired them. Because she's my first contact. And whatever good thing that she's doing, it impacts my life. So that's the point where I did not know anything to do with salvation. My mother just used to say she's born again now, and she was praying. I could see her praying, singing, and I just loved what she was doing. And I remember even one day telling her, I just want to be born again. I did not understand what salvation was all about. Of course, now I properly, like later on I came to understand what salvation is, and then I got born again. Like now that baptism and all those other processes, like because like now I understood that. But like the naivety where I know this is interesting because God takes us in whichever moment we are, and I felt like God really came into my life at that particular moment, and I think probably that was how life was just supposed to happen. God was supposed to come into my life at that particular moment when I was 8, 9. And this time I had now gone to live with my mother and her mother back in the village.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not for a very long time because I was only with her for like about 6 months there. So that impacted me. I got born again. And now she was preaching to me. If she's watching, I know she probably has forgotten about this. She was preaching to me and she was telling me God loves me. And she kept on encouraging me in life. And whichever place I was in, I knew she loves me. I knew she did not have a lot have a lot to contribute in my life at that particular moment, but she loved me. So, and she really encouraged me. I think that was the most important thing that my mother gave me at that particular stage, introducing me to God. Because that really changed my entire life. Because like how I perceived things became different. I just understood. Even with my father, I knew he loves me and probably something has happened. I don't know what has happened, but I know like he loves me, but probably something has happened. And probably one day that thing will be corrected.
So you're obviously coming from it kind of as this kid who is been bounced around a bit and had a relationship with dad, lived with dad. You lived with mom, had your encounter with God. And then what happened after the 6 months? You went back to your dad, or you went to boarding school, or?
Now, this was so interesting because my dad had married another, my stepmother. My dad had married my stepmother. And my stepmother came with 2 other kids. And my stepmother also had 2 kids with my father. My father's sister, the eldest. Now, when that happened, he forced my father to take me back because they had to take me back. He forced my father to take me back because the question now became like, you cannot have kids that are not yours, and your kid is not there with you. So it is more like they forced him to be with me.
Yeah. They're like, how can you take care of this lady's kids?
Yes,
And not your own.
and not your own kids. So
So you like your aunties?
yeah.
You like your aunts on that side?
They're from my father's side. They're from my father's side. So, and they forced that narrative. And my father did not have a choice because, like, I think almost everyone was against him. And he had to take me. I think he did not have a choice. So he had to take me. And I felt like when he was taking me, I felt the love in him. I just don't know how that changed. I felt the love in him. I've always felt the love in him. When I interact with him, I've always felt like he loves me. But there's more to do. There's something more that happens with him. I don't know what it is. But like now, that's the time that I came to live. Now, that was like when I was in class 4 is when I was coming